house is empty, so let's work on a project. Today I want to make a rock bag. I want to create a little something special that I can use every day. And I have all the materials here that we need to do that. So let's get started. So this will be the main fabric, black velvet. This will be a stiffener. And then here I have a lining. I want to line it with this fun and very cheap polyester fabric that I got from the thrift store. And then this is a little rug that I got from my grandmother. I cut the fringes because they were too long. Also, I intend to fold them over and then put the rug on the black velvet bag. Basically, my grandmother used to have these, for example, at the doorstep to the bedroom or on a wooden chair, so your bum wouldn't get cold if you would sit down, things like that. So I know she took really good care of it. It's not like she used to clean the shoes from outside when you come in or anything like that. So it's really clean and well cared and looked after. You can also take an existing tote bag and just sew the rug on, so this would be a smaller project. But today I'm going to make the bag first. As you can see here, the left and the right side are not completely the same. That's basically because here you see this edge. That's actually a selvage edge where the fabric is cut anyways. So I'm just adding this 1 centimeter. Just realized that I don't have enough of this Vliesline H250, so that's the slightly softer fleece line, and I'm just going to use the stiffer one, so that's 320. That's quite stiff. I actually wanted to use it for a bigger rug. I'm gonna show you what I mean. I think it would be really nice to have a bag just like this. However, let's say you attach something to hold, you know, the straps here, and you carry it around, it will basically do this. It will, over the course of time, it will just be saggy and not look the way I want it to look. I want it to be chic. There are different ways to do that, and one way I wanted to explore was to insert this very stiff 320 fleece line. Another idea I had for this bag was to actually insert a wood, this wood stick here, so it would for sure not collapse. as you can see, I haven't figured this out completely, which is why I'm not showing you today how to do this. So this is a project for another day. Okay, as I said, I'm using the stiffer interfacing and I'm going to see how this will turn out. So what you can see here is that the length of the main fabric is 99 centimeters at the moment. And I thought I bought 1 meter of this white interfacing. However, it's only 70 centimeters or maybe 90 centimeters. So now you see that the top section of the bag won't be covered, but this will be folded over at 3 centimeters. So I think that's okay. And to me, the most important thing is that it covers all the way through the bottom of the bag. So that's this section, because I don't want to have a cut here. I think we are fine. I'm using these very aesthetically pleasing metal edges. They function perfectly as weights. For all the measurements I'm using here, the seam allowance is included. So I typically do 1 centimeter of seam allowance. It's getting gloomy. I'm just gonna turn on the light. So that's the second lining pocket. It's not yet, but it's going to be. Now I've got my lining pieces all cut out, including the lining pocket pieces. I have cut out the black velvet main fabric piece and also the interfacing. I've ironed the interfacing to the main fabric. Looking at the size of my rug, I decided to have it even 9 centimeters from the top edge downwards. So I have enough space on the bottom left and it doesn't interfere with the seam allowance at the bottom once I stitch those two sides together. Okay, so now I'm gonna sew on the rug, and let's see if my sewing machine can handle that. Now that went pretty well. I'm pretty happy. It was actually not that difficult to sew it through. Only this part is too thick. So if the stitch is made right next to it, it's not a problem. All secured, I'm gonna move on to work on the lining. We decide to go with quite wide inside lining pockets. I recommend you make a vertical stitch line in the middle, so you have two smaller pockets just to prevent gaping. Okay, so I stretched my lock and gave it a good press. I went over the synthetic setting and was getting a little nervous, but it all worked out fine. And there are still some creases and wrinkles, but it looks much better now. I'm putting right sides together and I'm leaving out the part on the bottom, like the edge. Ignore my overlocking. It's really not done very cleanly. I still have right sides together and I'm just gonna sew it together this way. It's difficult to imagine maybe right now, but afterwards you will see how it's turning out. I'm folding open the seam here. As you can see, this is how it looks from the outside. Of course, I will turn the lining inside out again because this will be the part that is visible from the inside. The next step is to stitch those edges of the black velvet together, leaving the edge out for now, like we did with the lining. And I'm moving on to finishing this part like I did with the lining. So this is the turned out bag. I really like how it looks. I have the first strap here. I folded it over and now I'm gonna stitch very closely to the edge. So now it's time to attach the straps. Okay, so I'm intending to position the strap 6 centimeters from this seam line. Okay, yes, that looks quite nice. I'm going to attach it down here, or maximum here, actually right above the carpet, so I can fold this edge over with 1 centimeter seam allowance and then an additional 3 centimeters. And then here is a stitch line to attach the lining at 3 centimeters. So I don't want the strap to interfere with that, which is why I'm just going to attach it in a height of about 2 centimeters. With a little bit of squishing and pulling, it works out fine. Now attaching the straps is really the most painful part, because it's difficult to manipulate such a stiff bag around the sewing machine, but that's really what you have to do. You really have to pull and squeeze a little bit, and then this should hold. So now I've got everything pinned together and I'm ready to make the first seam. I stitched the two fabrics together at about 1 centimeter of seam allowance. I chose this contrasting color inside because you're not gonna see it. And now I continue to fold in at 1 centimeter and fold down again at about 3 centimeters. And I'm stitching very close to the border, to the edge of this seam. And this is how the finished bag looks. I'm really happy with it. I think it turned out very neatly, very chic. And if you are a knitter, this lining, this polyester lining is very slippery, and this makes it actually a perfect lining to have your knitting with you. It very easily slips past the lining. Just maybe for a velvet bag, make sure you fold the edge over so you really have the yarn slip past the lining and not the velvet, because of course there would be more friction. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will go back and continue with my knits.